Good morning. So I had this great idea. We've been talking about tops and bottoms, we've been talking about vegetables. So I thought today I would do a science lesson about plants. Oh, we were going to talk about the plant life cycle. We were going to talk about how plants reproduce. We were going to go all about plants. But then I had a question. And so I changed my topic for today just a bit because I got on a site called Wonderopolis because I wanted to know what's the difference between a rabbit and a hare. So in our book Tops and Bottoms, I was kind of using the word hare and rabbit interchangeably. I was kind of thinking they might be the same thing. I mean, they look alike. Perhaps they're just another name for the same thing. I'm not sure. So I decided I'd go on the site because I just Googled, like, what's the difference between a hare and a rabbit? And that site popped up. And I found this wonderful passage that told me the difference between rabbit and hare. And by the way, there is quite a big difference. So today, that's what our question is going to be. We always have to have some kind of thing that we want to know before we read. It's called a purpose for reading. So, my purpose for reading today is we're going to figure out what a hare and what a rabbit have in common and how they're different. And we're going to use a chart called a Venn diagram. I know you've used this before. It's the circle with the circle and they overlap. We're going to use that to read our passage and then fill that out for our purpose for reading. That way we have our reading response that keeps it in our head and we've learned something. So pause the video. You can draw your own diagram. Just draw the circle on one side, the circle on the other, and in the middle, they overlap. So you know that this side is the rabbit. This side is the hare, but in the middle is where they are alike. So go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to make my own. You're going to make your own, and I'll meet you right back here. Now we've set our purpose for reading. That's always a good idea because then I can keep my focus on the question that I want to answer or the purpose that I'm reading for. So remember, I said our purpose is what's the difference between a rabbit and a hare? And if you look at the top of our text, that's exactly what this piece is called. So we're going to go down through and read it, always remembering that we have to figure out what's the difference. So here we go. I'll read the text to you. You can follow along if you'd like. Is that furry thing an Easter bunny or an Easter hare? Are they the same thing or are they totally different? Are we just splitting hairs? Ha ha. Help! Believe it or not, rabbits and hares are completely different species, even though they look quite alike and are actually members of the same order of mammals, Lagomorpha. There are significant differences in physical appearance, behavior, and even lifestyles. Rabbits and hares are different from the moment they're born. Baby rabbits are sometimes called kittens or bunnies. They're born hairless and blind, totally dependent on their mothers. Baby hares are called leverets, and they're born with fur and sight, and they can move on their own within an hour of their birth. Hares tend to be larger than rabbits, with longer hind legs and longer ears with black markings. While rabbits' fur stays the same color year-round, hares change color from brown or gray in the summer to white in the winter. Rabbits and hares even tend to eat different foods. While rabbits prefer softer grasses and vegetables, like carrots, hares like to eat harder bark and twigs. Rabbits make their homes in burrows underground, while hares make nests above ground. Only the cottontail rabbit is known to make above-ground nests similar to those of hare. Their different living habitats make rabbits and hares respond to danger differently. Rabbits prefer to head underground to hide. You know what hares like to do? They like to use their longer, stronger hind legs to run away from danger. Rabbits can be domesticated and kept as pets. What does domesticated mean? It means that they can become pets. But hares stay wild. This reflects their behavior in the wild. Rabbits tend to be social animals that live in groups. Hares spend most of their time by themselves, only pairing up occasionally to mate. Isn't that interesting? I found a lot of information in this short little text, and we're going to come back and talk about it with our Venn diagram. So now I have my Venn diagram and I have my text, and we're going to fill this out based on our reading. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write hare on this side, and I'm going to write rabbit on this side. So like I said, I know this is kind of hard to see, but as I explained before, this circle right here is going to represent the hare and its qualities, and this circle right here is going to represent the rabbit and its qualities. So anything in the middle is what? That's the place where it's the same. So I'm just going to write that with an arrow just so we can remember that this is the things that are the same. All right, so here we go. Hare, let's talk about that. What did we say about hare? Think of some things that they talked about with hares. What did they say they ate? Which is interesting. They said that if we look back in our text, I know I can't give you a copy of that, but you know what I might do? Let's do this. I wonder if I could do, you won't be able to read it. Let's see here. No, I'm just going to keep that the same. I'll just hold it. All right, so the hare likes to eat bark and twigs, which doesn't sound very appetizing. Oh, remember when this is a Venn diagram, we don't have to write in complete sentences because we're just collecting our information. So this is just for you. So you're going to write it the way that you can remember it. So they like to eat bark and twigs. So you can write that on your Venn diagram. At any time when you want to write and I'm going too fast or you want to take a little bit of time, just pause the video and then you can come back on when you're ready. All right, so they eat bark and twigs. All right, what else do we know about them? Where do they live? Where did they say they lived? Do they live underground or do they live above ground? Yeah, they make their nests above ground. I'm going to write nests above ground. Okay, so they eat bark, they eat twigs, they have their nests above ground. All right, so what else did we learn about them? Oh, do they like to hang out together? No, they like to be alone. They like to be alone. So they basically are kind of loners. They go out, one of the hare goes out, does its thing. The only time they get together is when they want to mate. So that's it. Okay, what else did we learn about them when they were babies? Well, what do we call their babies? We call them leverettes. We don't call them bunnies. We don't call them kittens. We call them leverettes. And we also learned that they're born, do you remember did they have hair or did they not have hair? They did have hair. So when the hare, maybe that's why they're called hare. When the hare is born, they have fur. So they're born with fur. Oops. It's hard to write like this. They're born, and I'm just going to put with fur, and they can see. So they're born with fur and they can see. The other thing they said is they're a little bit larger than rabbits. So I'm going to put they're bigger than rabbits. What do you think? Do we have a lot of information about Hare? We do. There might have been some other things. Oh, you know what? They actually, I'm going to put this up here. They change colors. Their fur changes colors in the seasons. I'm going to ask you a $1 million question. So if their fur changes colors in the season, what do we call that? Camouflage. Excellent job. So they're white in the winter because they blend in with the snow. The other times they're able to blend in with their surroundings. So it says that, let's see here. Oh, they're brown or gray in the summer or in the fall, and then they go to white in the winter. So they change colors. So what do you think? I think we've got a lot of information about Hare. All right, let's go on to the rabbits. So we started off with what the hare eats. So what do rabbits eat? They eat vegetables. Actually, they might have even talked about, oh, they eat grasses and vegetables. So let's do this. Vegetables and grasses. There you go. All right, and where do they live? See, we're going to go right across here. So we can take what we learned from Hare and we're going to compare them over to this side. So where do they live? They live underground in burrows. I'm going to put burrows underneath just because I like fancy vocabulary. Okay. So they live underground in burrows. All right, so let's go across. Do they like to live alone? No, they call them social. They're social, which means they live in groups. They like to be around other rabbits. All right. You know what we're doing right now? We're calling this is, I'm making a connection. We're doing social distancing right now because of COVID-19. Okay, so the rabbits would have a hard time doing that because they like to be around other people. But this guy over here would love social distancing. The hare wants to be away from people. I mean, other hares. Probably people too. All right, what do we call their little babies? We call them bunnies or kittens. There we go. All right, how are they born? Excuse me, how are they born? They are born hairless. So they have no fur. All right. And what else? They can't see. So they're born blind. And of course, they're smaller because we said the hares are bigger. What do you think? Oh, do they change colors? No, they stay the same. So they are not camouflaging themselves. I think we found a lot of, I mean, look at this little text and look how much information we found. I love it. All right, so here's what we're going to do next. Let's look at kind of what we're the same now. So what do we know about them? As we look at them, we know that they're from the same family. So even though it says, let me see, I'm going to look at I always look back in the text when I can't remember something or when I want to make clarification. So they're mammals. So they're both mammals. All right. And they're from, what was the order? Lagomorpha. Hopefully that's how you say that. I tried my best. That's the species they're from, or the order, I should say. And let's see. They look a little bit alike. What do they have that's alike? They have long ears. And they have fur. They have twitchy noses. So they have some things that are alike. Let's see, anything else that we learned about what's alike? If you can think of other things that I haven't thought about on either of these, you can go ahead and fill those into your Venn diagram. Let's see here, what else? I think that's pretty good. I think we did a good job. All right, so did we answer our purpose for reading? Our purpose for reading was, how are hares and rabbits different? And we actually found out quite a bit of differences. We also found out some things that are the same. And I think one of the things that people get confused about with hares and rabbits is they have those long ears, which they do kind of look alike. Now, once you've filled this out, you can kind of go back and see, did I learn some things? Did I respond to my reading? Did I answer my purpose for reading? That's what I like. I've learned things. I've done all of that. All right, now we have to have a discussion. So here's our discussion. We've read tops and bottoms, and we know that this character was called Hare. But after I completed my Venn diagram and read my text about what's the difference between rabbits and hares, I don't think we should have called it Bear and Hare, even though that's kind of a cool rhyming name. I actually think we should have called it Rabbit and Hare. Why? Whoops, I'm sorry, Rabbit and Bear. Why? Well, let's think about what this guy was doing. This guy lived with his whole family. I thought hares were not social beings. I thought that they liked to live alone. But he lived in an underground hole with his whole family. And what did we learn about hares? Hares like to live above ground by themselves. So this wasn't exactly accurate. What else did we learn? Hare in the book was collecting vegetables for his family to eat. Do they eat vegetables? No, they eat bark and twigs. So I don't think that was supposed to be a hare. This is more of a rabbit from that book. All of a sudden I started thinking, after what I've learned, I think there might be some problems in my book. Of course, it's just a fictional book, and of course she was just writing for fun. But I thought after I read this passage and did my Venn diagram, there were some discrepancies in that book. But that's what we do. We take a question that we have from a text that we read, and we figure out information, and then we go back and look at the text. And then that teaches us something even more. So now we could probably rewrite that book. We could call it Bear and Rabbit. There you go. I hope you learned a lot with me today. Make sure you check out Wonderopolis, and I'm actually going to put a little video at the bottom that I got from Wonderopolis, and it's actually kind of a cute video about some hares, and you can see what they're doing. It's kind of funny. All right, enjoy your day, boys and girls. Bye.